everyone, and welcome back to That's It. As you know, I've been doing extensive videos about the disappearance of Sudiksha, and what really bothers me, and it continues to still bother me because I really can't sleep because all I do is think about her and wondering her last moments at that beach. And this whole case is just a mystery. Now, I've been putting like timelines together, trying to figure out what the police officer missed, what could have they looked at even further, of the disappearance of Sudishka. And I'm just going to give you my theories and my perspective behind this. And like I said, and I've made it very clear that she was taken against her will. She did not drown because if she did, her body would have surfaced on the shore. Joshua, his statements in his transcript is just very inconsistent, and I'm going to walk you through it and give you my perspective of what he said in his transcripts because there's three different stories. I don't know which one is true, if they're even if it is true or not, or he just made it up. Again, there was only two people were there. It was Joshua and it was Sudishka, and no one else. And during that time, there was a blackout. There was no cameras, no lights at the beach, so we don't know what really happened. The authorities is going based on what Joshua is saying and what he said on a transcript. But again, this kid could be lying. He could not be telling the truth. He could have been scared, drunk, passed out, didn't know what he was saying, or he just made the whole thing up because he don't remember. It's a lot of scenarios and a lot of I wouldn't say possibilities, but a lot of red flags. And I'm just going to dive in and give you my perspective of it. So here we go. So as you know that she was missing on March 6th, and then there's timelines of when she was last seen and where she was at. Obviously, she was at the beach. But what really struck me the most was the power outage, like complete blackout from March 5th, and the last time it was the outage was like after 3 a.m. And then they had some of their electricity was restored like 70%. That's what they're at the resort, the Rio Republica resort at the hotel. And then 30% of the electricity outage came back between March 5th and then March 6th. Now, that hotel, I don't know about you guys, and I said it in my video, there's something not right in that hotel. There's something not right. Something is telling me there's something not right in that hotel. It's like this is not the first time a power outage went out in that hotel, and people who stayed at that resort had some crazy stories, in which I will attach a video about this one girl that I mentioned on my last video that she had an incident when the power went out, and it's the same time that when Sudishka went missing. So she was at the resort too. She didn't know her, but she was at the resort too when the power outage went out. And then you have to listen to the story that and the experience that she had at the resort and the staff employees over there. So going back to the hotel, something is off. I never been there. I never been to Dominican Republic. I'm glad I haven't because anyway, it's not even about me, but something is just not right there. I feel like the employees, the owner, the management, they know more than they're telling and they're not saying anything. Again, they don't want bad press. They don't want people to stop coming to their resorts because they don't want any bad reviews. They don't want any problems. They don't want money to stop coming in there. Okay. But moving forward, at 3:30 to 3:55, there were surveillance cameras captured Sudishka and a group of her friends in the hotel lobby around 3:30 a.m. sharing or consuming some type of beverage in that area. Then they moved to a hotel bar that's called Bar Marco at approximately 3:55 a.m., sharing another type of beverage. And I believe that footage that everyone saw, including me, that was that bar hotel with those two estranged men and then the bartender as well. And I believe those two strange men, among the bartender, among whoever was lurking at them, looking at her friends, Joshua and his friends too. You can clearly see in the footage that Joshua was completely drunk and he was puking, and then she was drunk too, but she puked, but then she was jumping up and down and then grabbing her friend and stuff like that. So she seemed like she wasn't that completely wasted, opposed to Joshua. Joshua was completely drunk and very lucid and wasted. Then 4:17 a.m., the group of 8 friends walked to the beach from the hotel bar during the power outage. Surveillance cameras were still working and capturing the video of Konanki walking with a young man, Joshua, who has his arm wrapped around her shoulder after 4 a.m. on March 6th. Now, then 4:50 a.m. They were last time they were around was 4:50 a.m. walking on the beach outside of the Rio Republica, according to the flyer being calculated online. So that was the last time she was seen with Joshua. Then 5:55, the footage then showed a group of 6 people, including 5 women and 1 man. So that one guy that was Joshua's friend, that's Carter Joseph, returning to the hotel from the beach around like 5:55. So Sudiksha and Joshua, they remain at the beach, and then the group of the rest of the friends, the 6 of them, including his friend Carter, went back to the hotel. Now, that was a timeline at what I just mentioned, 5:55 a.m. Now, those 2 strange men, they were walking towards the beach while those 2 girls, the group of people were walking back to the hotel. Now, is it possible that while they were walking back, again, you saw a glance of those 2 men walking towards the beach? They probably saw what happened. Again, there was no footage, there was no cameras at that beach. And on top of that, it was very pitch dark. It was very dark. There was no lights, it was very dark. So just imagine they were in the bushes or somewhere hiding without them not having them notice that someone was out there. Okay, because again, they were pretty much wasted at that time. Okay, then what really confused me was Joshua's transcript, okay, which I read several times, and it doesn't make any sense to me because, like I said, there's 3 different versions of it. But his transcript says Joshua said that he entered the water with Sudiksha, but the rough surface made him sick. So he went back to the shore, leaving Sudiksha in the water. So you were in the water. That's what he said. And then there was rough waves, and then he left because he got sick, but then he left her in the water. Then another version that he said was that he said that he felt sick and he left Sudiksha in a knee-deep water before he passed out of the beach. Then he said he claims that he saw her walking on the beach before he fell asleep. According to him, he saw her. Now, again, the beach was pitch dark. There was no lights. So my thing is, when he said he saw her, did he actually saw her? Then he said that they were in the water and then they were making out and they were kissing. Again, I don't know if that is true or not, but that's what he said in his transcript. He's the only one that was there, obviously, because he was the last person to be with her. But my thing is he telling the truth? Because there's so many inconsistencies in his story. It doesn't make any sense. Then he said that the rough tie took them underneath, and then he grabbed her and put her underneath his arms, and then underneath his arms, and then try to bring back to them to the shore. And I'm like, and then he's just only a lifeguard, but he only does it in the pool. I'm thinking to myself, if you can swim and if you're a lifeguard, it doesn't matter if you're in a pool in the ocean. You can swim or you can't. That's I don't know how to say it. Like, if you know how to swim and if you're a good swimmer, it shouldn't matter if you're rescuing someone in the pool or someone in the ocean. But again, it can be different because the pool is different from the ocean, obviously, because there's high tides and stuff like that opposed to a pool. But if you are a good swimmer and if you're a lifeguard, like you said, you could have done it. But it didn't make any sense to me. Something was just off about him saying that they were in the water, and then and after that he said that he got sick and then he started vomiting, and then he left the water and then she was still there. So my thing is, which is it? Because I don't understand the transcript, meaning that what he said doesn't make any sense to me. And quite honestly, quite honest with you guys, he's lying. Okay, none of it makes sense. He's lying. I believe that he was probably very, very drunk. One, he don't remember. Two, he completely blacked out. Three, he probably did something to her and he's not aware of it, and then he freaked out, and I don't know, he snapped. Who knows? But her body still haven't been found. It hasn't been located anywhere. You know, it's not underneath the sand. There's drones were looking at the time, and no one has been talking about it at all anymore. It's like, in the Dominican eyes and authorities, case closed, even though they never made it official, but they're not talking about it. If no one's not talking about it and saying anything, so they're not going to do anything. They're just going to do the bare minimum. And I just feel like when Joshua told this inconsistent statement in his transcripts, why the authorities did not press hard on him? Meaning that, why didn't it tell Joshua, listen, your story does not make sense. What really happened? They didn't press on him. They just like went by what he said because he was cooperating. He went back to the beach and showed the authorities where he was at, where she was at, allegedly, because if we don't know, we're going based on what he says. And they were just, to me, in my opinion, they were just so calm and relaxed about it because he was cooperating. They didn't put any pressure on Joshua. This made it seem like, oh, he's a person of interest. We're not saying that, we're not telling people that he's a suspect when he should have been a suspect. He was the last person to see her. And then the inconsistent statement in the transcript, why did it impress on him? Why did it was not hard on him? And again, I don't know the laws in the Dominican Republic. I don't know if it's a lack of knowledge or they don't have the resources to interrogate someone very hard. I don't know. But I guarantee you guys, if this was in the United States and if this wasn't a detective talking to Josh, they would be interrogating him for hours. Okay, beating down, not literally, but asking him what the hell is going on, because what you're saying is not making sense, Joshua. Tell us the truth. Tell us where she is. What did you do with her body? You know what I mean? They would have kept grilling him, until he eventually say something. But they didn't do that at the DR. They didn't do that at the authorities. They just like, okay, you said this, Josh. Okay, no problem. And I believe they got paid. That's why they haven't. That's why I believe they didn't really press on him that much, because they probably got paid. They got paid hush money to keep their mouth shut and not to press on the questions that everyone is asking, and including why they haven't interrogated their friends either, because they were the last person to see her too. They saw her at the beach and then they left. So I don't understand. They were with her at the bar. They were with her at the beach before they left. The timeline says it. So I don't understand why they didn't interrogate the friends, interrogate his other friend, Carter Joseph. I don't understand this. This does not make any sense to me. This is why this case is such a mystery and it's just very off. This whole thing is very off, and it's something is not right, you guys. And the father, I want to mention this to you because as you know, that the father did that statement that they declared their daughter dead. But let's fast forward. Let's go backwards, actually. Okay. Now the father made an urgent call to the authorities to ramp up the search of their daughter. Okay, who may have been he feared that his daughter may have been abducted, because the body was never found. They never found her body in the ocean. It never came to shore. That's what the father believes. And his concern was that if she's not in the water, she probably likely have been taken or kidnapped or abducted. Okay. Now the father believed that originally. Okay. The father believed that if his daughter was not in the water, and if her body did not appear in the surface, in the shore, pardon me, that her daughter was probably kidnapped or abducted, or someone abducted her. Okay, that was his theory. That was his first logic theory at first. But then something shifted, something changed. Someone told the parents something to make him, the father, made a statement to declare the daughter's dead. I believe that the authorities told the parents that we found your daughter's sandals, we found her bathing suit cover, so we believe that she drowned. And like I said in my previous video, that could have easily been planted there for us to believe that she was in the water, she drowned. One. Two, it's a possibility that, again, she was a little bit drunk, tipsy, that if Joshua claims that he said that they were in the water and then they came back to shore, that when she was walking towards back to her hotel, she probably forgot about it, because we all have forgot something when we get wasted or drunk: our phones, our bathing suits, our purse, our wallets, whatever the case might be. That's a possibility that she forgot. Okay, but it doesn't indicate that she drowned, because again, her body haven't been surfaced. It hasn't been surfaced from the beach. So that's another possibility, another scenario that I'm thinking of. But I believe that the authorities told the parents of Sudiksha that she drowned, and that's when the father made that statement saying that, well, we're going to declare our daughter dead after 6 days. At the time, 6 days, that you're going to declare your daughter dead, and there was no extra further investigation. They had drones, they had people in the water. That's not enough. They should have searched everywhere. When I mean everywhere, everywhere. And like I said, I never been to Dominican Republic. I believe, I'm assuming that it's really big, but they did, for me, in my opinion, they did the bare minimum. Okay, they didn't do enough extensive search to find her. Okay, I believe they were paid off by the father of Joshua, okay, to shut this case down, to not make it big, okay, because no one hasn't been talking about it except for the people who's been doing their video content and then just bringing the news out and keep talking about it so we don't let this story die. But other than that, Dominican Republic news, I haven't heard not one word, nothing about her disappearance. Not even a latest update, what's going on, nothing. Again, they want this to go away. They don't want any spectacles. They don't want any noise about this. And this is an American 20-year-old student who was missing, and they don't care. They don't care. Not a care in the world. And I'm telling you, I just feel like if I was a detective, I would have started from that Rio hotel, the Republic Girl Hotel. I would have started with those people first, those staff, because they know more than they're saying, and someone must have known or seen something. Okay, Joshua, he definitely knows something. Not saying he did anything, because again, we need proof of it, even though the authorities said there was no foul play, which that's full of baloney in my eye. The friends, I don't know why they're not interrogating the friends, but they're back in the States now. Haven't heard anything from them, and it's been months. Haven't heard anything from them. Obviously, Joshua's keeping low, keeping quiet, not saying anything. The father, nothing. And then the parents of Sudiksha, nothing either, which I get. They want to forget. They want to believe that their daughter drowned when actually their daughter did not drown. They've been fooled by the authorities saying that their daughter drowned when their daughter did not drown. I really feel sorry for the parents, because they trusted these authorities, and these authorities told them lies. Told them lies. Told them lies. And none of this is adding up. Okay, none of this adding up. None of it makes sense to me. And there's times I have sleepless nights thinking about this, like, what is going on? What really happened to her? Why there was no cameras at the beach in the resort? Why is that? Why did the power outage went down? Is it the power outage? Is that had anything to do with the disappearance of her? I don't know. That's $1 million question that I'm trying to figure out. But what I do know is that both of them were being watched, both of them were drugged. Okay, maybe the friends had something to do with it, maybe they don't. But I feel like a lot of people know something and just not saying anything, and it's just like a big mystery that we try and crack this case, and it's like a standstill because we don't know what really happened because no one's not speaking, no one's not coming forward, no one's not telling the truth. And to me, someone's hiding something. And like I said, when things are in the dark, God is going to bring it to the light. And God is going to bring it to the light. And we will know the truth about the disappearance of Sudipshka. Excuse me, I keep saying her last name. Okay, Sudishka. We're going to know the truth about her. Okay, and it's going to come out. It is very sad that no one doesn't want to come forward and tell the truth. People are scared. People are going to think what they're going to think about them. Who cares? This is a missing girl, a 20-year-old student who has her whole life ahead of her. And she is taken against her will. Someone took her against her will. She's probably being tortured or drugged or who knows. And I don't even want to think of what's going on. I don't. I'm continuing to think positive and thinking that there is going to be light at the end of the tunnel, that someone is going to come forward and give us the smoking gun, that where is she and what happened to her. I'm continuing to pray for that. I'm continuing to pray for her parents, that her parents will turn it around and have TJ Ward to investigate the disappearance of their daughter. They need to know the truth. We need to know the truth. We need to know what really happened, because it seemed like Joshua is not speaking. He's not saying anything. Okay, because his story is just inconsistent. He didn't want to answer the 8 simple question that was given to him. To me, you're guilty of something. You're guilty of something, because if you have nothing to hide and you've been cooperating like you have been when you were in the Dominican Republic, why you couldn't answer the 8 questions? What do you have to hide? Your attorney was right with you. Why you couldn't answer those 8 simple questions? To me, it's guilt. To me, you're hiding something. It's guilt. And he knows more than he's saying, and we will never know. We will never know because the authorities over there in the Dominican Republic, they didn't do their job. It was not very thorough. They were very more laid back. They didn't ask the tough questions. Yeah, okay, if he didn't answer those 8 questions, I wouldn't even let him leave. I would let him stay. Even though there was no evidence, like they were saying, there was no foul play, but still, the inconsistency of his statement in his transcript, that should have just been like a smoking gun, that he's not making sense. His story's not adding up. Again, what's going on here? What is going on here? Doesn't make any sense, you guys. And I'm going to stay honest. I'm trying to put the pieces together because none of it makes sense to me. And if you guys know if you have any tips or anything that you can think of, please let me know so I can put everything together, because I have my notes, I have my timeline board. I'm just trying to put everything together to make sense, because until I get some hard proof, concrete evidence so I can present it to someone who cares, besides TJ Ward, but again, he needs the blessing of the parents before he can do anything. I'm going to put everything together, what I know, and then once he gets the blessing, then I can just give it to him so he can do his job and find her immediately, because time is ticking. It's been a month, you guys. Okay, we don't know how much longer she can survive this, or they gonna move her again. I believe she's still in the Dominican Republic, but that can all change. That can all change until everything dies down. Then they move her. Then once they move her, then what? Then what? So I don't know. It's just crazy to me that they just sweep this underneath the rug and they just don't care. Like, move on, okay. It's like Natalie Hollowell all over again. It's just crazy. It's like deja vu, you guys. Deja vu all over again. But let me know your thoughts and your comments. I really appreciate you guys just taking the time to listen and to watch this video and giving me your feedback and your comments about the disappearance of Sudishka. And again, I'm still going to be talking about it. I'm still fighting for her to come back to her family and to her friends. And we just got to continue to pray and ask God to protect her wherever she's at, and to give her the strength and the hope and the faith that she needs to come back home and then she can give her testimony and give her and tell her story, what really happened to her. And I truly believe that she's alive until they find a body. She's still alive somewhere out there. And just if she even watching or anyone's watching, her family members, we care. I care, because if I didn't care, I wouldn't be talking about this. But I care, because if that was my sister, my daughter, my niece, I would be fighting day in and day out until we bring her home. And that's what I'm doing for her and everyone else that's been covering this story. And that's all I have to say about that, you guys. Thank you so much again for watching. I really love you all. And thank you so much for the love and the support. And I will see you guys next time.
If you have a spring break trip booked to Rio Republica, consider canceling it now. Yesterday, I got back from the worst all-inclusive experience I've ever had in my entire life. And as someone that has been going to all-inclusives for 15 years or more at this point, that says a lot. I'm gonna give you the full rundown of the awful experience that I had. First of all, we arrived on Monday, March 3rd, and check-in took over an hour due to how many people that were there. I think that they honestly sold out the entire resort, which is probably the reason for the majority of these problems. I don't think that they have the infrastructure or the operations to be able to handle having a fully sold out resort, especially not during spring break with a bunch of college students. So we get there, check-in takes over an hour because the lobby is so packed, which caused us to miss the jungle party, which was the only party we were going to be able to go to and part of the reason we wanted to stay at a Rio. Last year, we stayed at Rio Caribe in Cancun and had a great experience, so we definitely did not expect any of this. After checking in, we were told that there were no more double rooms, even though that's what we paid for because they had given them all away. And so we had to stick with kings, which was fine, whatever, just not what we paid for, you know? We were still able to go out and have dinner, and it was fine. We decided to go night swimming that night, and the power went off around 3 a.m., but only for around 10 minutes, so we thought it would be an isolated event. The next morning, we woke up to no running water, but eventually it did come back on. Later that night around 1 a.m., the power went out again. Leaving us with nothing to do, we decided to go night swimming again. Night swimming was fine, but when it was time for us to leave, we discovered that my friend's purse was stolen, which included her wallet and our room key, because my room key stopped working on the first day and I just didn't have time to go get a new one yet. We went to the front desk to get some help and try and get a new key, but their systems were down, so they weren't able to give us any keys. The staff was extremely rude and dismissive, and some people were even laughing at us because everybody was having room key issues. While you could get in the room, we didn't have keys, so we couldn't do anything. Yeah, and the power was still out. While at the front desk, we saw somebody walking by with my friend's, we saw one of the staff walking by with my friend's purse, so we were convinced that one of the staff members stole it. Her wallet was gone. We did eventually get her wallet back the next day after like 12 hours when I had to go back down to the front desk for something else. And when we got her wallet back, all of her stuff was like jumbled up around. There was 2 room keys that weren't ours, and all of her cash was gone. So still, while the front desk systems were down, we were unable to get new keys. Somebody finally arrived with the master key after 2 hours almost and was able to let us into our rooms. Mind you, the power is still out and we have no water, so we basically just had to go to sleep. It was burning up and we couldn't charge our phones or anything. Following morning, still no power, no water, no air. Thankfully, we had an excursion booked, so we spent most of our day doing that. We finally got back around 6 o'clock. There was still no power, no AC. The water was on, but no power. So we had to take showers in the dark. And the left side of the resort did have power, but there was only one buffet and like one other small restaurant over there, so the entire resort had to eat at the smallest restaurant. It was so overcrowded. There was barely any food options because there was just so many people. I do appreciate the kitchen staff trying to accommodate. They brought out extra picnic tables and flashlights and put out some extra food in the hallway, but it was still just a huge mess. The white party was that night too. I don't even think they ended up having it because there was no power. You know? So since we couldn't really do anything, we basically, most of us, some of the group just went to sleep because it was just a horrible day. And a few of us stayed downstairs at one of the bars that was open and just got drinks in the dark. The power came back on around 2:30 a.m. while we were asleep. I woke up, so I plugged my phone in, but everybody else was still asleep. Going without water, electricity, or AC is such a terrible thing. Like, you at least expect the basics, and we didn't even get that. I know we're not at the Ritz-Carlton, but come on. Like, it was ridiculous. And while things can happen, I understand that the power does go out sometimes in Punta Cana. Resorts need to have contingency plans in place to be able to deal with situations like this. And honestly, there was just so many other little things that happened that just kind of ruined our experience. We've been looking forward to this trip for months. It was my friend's first time going out the country, and she had a terrible experience, so I feel awful for that. I am really hoping that someone sees this because they are giving us the runaround right now. I'm sure if you just look it up, you will see tons of other videos on here about this. But if you have a trip planned for spring break, seriously contact your travel agent if you have one and have them move you to a different resort. Because if it's going to be as crowded as it was on the first week of spring break, the rest of the month, you're going to have a terrible time.